Today on Alvarez TV, we're talking string gauges. How much does it change the tone? What does it do to the guitar? Does it increase more volume, resonance, sustain, etc.? We're trying 10s, 11s, 12 and 13 gauges. We're going to do some A, B, Cs, Ds. Please join us and find out more.
Yeah, man.
Quite a speedy one. Look at the chair creaks. Can you hear that?
We've got some creaky chairs. They've been around for a while, these chairs, man.
We might need some new chairs. Check the budget.
100 and something episodes of sitting in the same chairs. They're about to be a bit creaky.
Rocking in the same chairs. Might be
chairs.
here we're old men in rocking chairs on the port, playing a parlour. Hi everybody.
Hey guys, how you doing? How are you, mate?
Doing well.
This is a bit of an interesting one. All about string gauges.
String gauges. We get asked a lot about what string gauges or what strings people should use on our guitars. We use 12s, 12 to 53.
Yeah, it's interesting. So 12 to 53 is a light gauge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting because before I got massively into acoustic guitar, before we started working together, and I always had an acoustic, but I was not massively into acoustic guitar. I would always veer towards an 11, probably because I played, I played bass, but when I played guitar, I played 10s on a much, on an electric guitar. So 12s felt like a bit of a jump to me. But actually, when you put a set of 12s on a guitar compared to a set of 11s, there's a big old difference in tone.
I think, without a doubt, there's a difference. I mean, when you were talking there, I was trying to remember my gauge journey.
Right.
And I think when I was young, I played 10s, actually.
Yeah.
And then I went to 11s, and then I went to 12s. I've never gone to 13s, though. That's 13s, right?
Yeah. I have to say that I find these a bit tough.
Obviously bending.
Yeah. Yes, because I often veer towards doing a little bit of the lead thing on here, and I probably should have picked...
I play 13s.
Maybe I should have picked the 10s. But yeah, I was finding myself sort of struggling a little bit. But I like the sound of it with a pick, which is interesting because a lot of bluegrass...
They suit a thick pick.
Right.
Like, when you were noodling around earlier, it sounded fantastic, just like falling around each note. Because I obviously play with my fingers, not rather than a pick. And I was noodling around that earlier. It sounds a bit muddy compared to 12s. But I think this is a real sort of engaging episode because there'll be lots of opinion about this and tell us why and what you play and why. Because obviously different styles of music.
Yeah.
Fingerstyle, people probably aren't going to play 13s, right? If you tend to be the lead person in your combo or duet or whatever that might be, probably not going to go to 13s, especially if you're playing a large guitar like a dreadnought, because we've got a lot of tension is about this, right? And D's got some facts on his tension, which are shocking, actually.
I did actually get some facts on here. So a 12 gauge set of strings has 168 pounds of pressure.
Which is 65 kilograms.
It's a lot of pressure, right? But if you go up, whether you go up or down, it's about 20 pounds each way. So 12 to 13 is it's 188 pounds, which is 20 pounds of difference. And consequently, if you go down to 11s, it's 140. 10s is only 122. That's a big old difference.
So there's 40 pounds difference between 10 and a 12.
Yeah. So in terms of percentages, from a 10 gauge set, if you go up, it's 15% difference to an 11. It's 37% difference to a 12 set. And it's 53, almost 54% difference
from a 10 to a 13. So then you've got to think about how you build your guitars, right? In fact, D said, shall I buy some 14s? And I said, no.
Yeah, that's actually true. I bought some 14s. Chris was like, let's not recommend that.
I wouldn't recommend putting 14s. You know, I think that, I don't know, like our guitars should be able to hold it. We build it for 12s. We know they can manage 13s very well. Going up to 14s, especially if you're adding 20% each time.
It's a lot.
Well, you're going to be at nearly 200 pounds worth of pressure.
It would be 200 pounds.
200 pounds worth of pressure for a set of 14s, which is mad when you think about it's only a 2.8 millimeter top.
Yeah.
And it's got all of that.
But I would imagine if you're going to do that, you would perhaps be a player who detuned, or maybe you played an open tuning.
Maybe open tuning or whatever.
Like a dad guard or something.
But, you know, lots of bluegrass people play 13s. And it's full, and they're using a fairly heavy pick, and it sounds fantastic. For me, when we do the ABs and stuff, the 13s general strumming sound a little bit muddier than obviously a set of 12s.
They do.
What I was surprised at, though, is the 10s don't sound... I mean, they do sound... I don't know if you can hear this. What is this one again?
12s.
So this is 12. Just sounds like one of our guitars, really. And then this is what? 11s. Mahogany, right?
They're 11s.
So both of these are mahogany.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can hear that, but there's a volume difference.
Yeah, there is a volume difference.
I mean, the tension is obviously driving the top. You know, there's two sorts of noises. There's noise coming out of here, and there's obviously the string noise as well, which is like, you know, those two blends together. A thinner string, you think, is a thinner sound, but it's also the tension from the relation to the top is the volume part. What we'll have to do is we'll have to use the same guitar.
Yeah.
And do all the sets of strings.
Yeah.
And then you can hear it perfectly.
Yeah. And they're a set of, so these are 10s, but obviously this is on a rosewood. So it'd be slightly different anyway.
See? It sounds a bit thin, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It doesn't sound bad.
No, it doesn't actually.
These are 13s. So we're going from 10s to 13s on a rosewood.
That's interesting. You feel that you can dig in more on the 13s, right?
Yeah,
you did
I like this.
Yeah,
I think I'm not scared that it is.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of beef there, isn't there? There's a lot of... There's some frequency going on that isn't going on in that guitar.
So a mate of mine plays 13s, but he always plays an E flat.
Yeah.
So I think he likes the tension of 12, but he tunes down to E flat. I think that's what he does. So I think that maybe that's got something to do with it. And we're gauging it all on standard E 440.
Yeah. So when it comes to guitar construction, you've got to kind of have that in mind. You've got to brace a guitar, build a guitar that's strong enough.
Yeah, that can tolerate.
Well, because what you'll get is if you put a set of 13s on a guitar that can't manage that, first thing you're going to get is you're going to get a bump here. You're going to get some deformity in the top.
Of course.
Because
it's pulling it.
Yeah, it's all that tensions. It's working out how to deal with that. And if it's not braced heavily enough, you'll get some deformity in the soundboard. any guitar of any age anyway has got it's got some sort of deformity in the soundboard. Some builders even build knowing that top is there's something going to do the top. Especially in the classical world, you can feel the braces through classical guitars. I mean, the tops are really, really thin and they're cedar. So I think all of that is in mind. How much resonance am I going to build in? How light is it going to be? What gauge strings are going on here? But I think that certainly in Alvarez, when we're building a lot of guitars for a lot of people, and somebody's going to think, oh, I need to put a set of 13s on, we have to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
We recommend 12s. We think our guitars sound best with regard to clarity, volume, tone, in all of that. But, I'm sure there's thousands of Alvarez out there with 13s on.
Be interesting to know what people are playing. I mean, whether everyone's standard 12s.
Yeah, and then we can go into, beyond that. It's like 80-20, phosphor bronze, nickel steel.
Yeah.
There's all that sort of stuff.
Sam and I are planning on having a conversation, I think.
Okay.
Extending that conversation just between me and Sam. We're just going to video.
You're going to start talking again. That's nice.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? No, maybe have a conversation with one of our friends at the Dario and talk about different types of strings and materials and
inner cores and wraps and all that. So the size of a gauge, when we say 12 to 53, is a decimal of the total. It's the total width, right?
It's the edge to edge thickness.
It's the inner core and the wrap. We could go further on this, but we could bring somebody in. We could do, try 80-20s against all sorts of other things, and maybe that's one brand. But anyway,
but we use XS. It has to be said, because we like them. We like the feel of them. We like the sound of them. But they're a coated string. But they don't feel like a coated string. That's kind of why we like them.
Yeah,
isn't it?
and Martin have quite an array of different materials as well. They have their Kovar. Don't they do the Monel or something? The sort of real vintagey sound.
You brought me some string. I haven't put those on yet. Those Martins.
Yeah. Anyway, I guess we could go down a bit of a string kind of.
I think we're all using them. We're probably all got opinions about it.
And they're a massive impact on the overall sound of the guitar.
It's huge.
So anyway, we'll do A, B, C, Ds. We'll do the same guitar, 4 different gauges of strings. D was, that is a baritone with an extra long scale length, which is, 27 inches?
27 inches.
With a set of normal strings on. And it sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
I like it. But you said because the bracing was heavier.
Bracing's heavier on the baritones. So when we get the thicker strings, longer scale lengths, you got to brace that guitar.
Yeah.
And 12 strings as well. 12 strings got even more tension on. But anyway.
Fascinating subject, the strings. I could
We could do some more actually. But we'll just stick with the 10s, 11s, 12s, 13s are all the Dario.
Yeah.
And we'll stick them on the same guitar so you can hear the difference. But let us know your own gauge journey and why, or even if you use different gauges for different styles of music, maybe too.
Or if you've tried different gauges on our guitars and
preferred different things.
Or maybe you've had to modify it, maybe you've had to do something to...
Yeah, sometimes you've got to give a tweak, the truss rod or even a setup. Some guitars have been dialed in for 13s, you put some 12s or 11s on, they kind of fall apart a little bit. But anyway, let us know and we'll keep going.
Yeah, great stuff.
Thanks everybody.
Cheers guys.
See you.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, click the like button and consider subscribing to our channel. If you want to watch more videos like this one, click the video on the screen now.